Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SPACC Live, Public Policy Conversations, quick half-hour conversations with East Metro policymakers and multiple levels of government. Today's conversation is co-hosted in partnership with the Woodbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Questions can be submitted during the webinar by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Our hosts today are Shannon Watson, Director of Public Affairs of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce, and Lori Stager, President of the Woodbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Our featured guest today is Woodbury Mayor Ann Burt.
Thanks, Evie, and welcome everyone. It's our pleasure to be here on a somewhat cloudy Tuesday morning. Lori, it's good to see you. We haven't been able to be in the same room for a while, so good to see you on the computer screen.
Great to see you too, Shannon. Thank you so much for having us. And it's my pleasure today to be able to introduce Mayor Ann Burt. Mayor.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to be here and part of this conversation. Looking forward to sharing some things with you about what's happening here in the East Metro and in Woodbury.
So, Mayor, we keep talking about how this year just seems to get weirder and weirder. As we think we're recovering from one thing, something else happens. So how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing just fine. It's been, as we all know, just such a very interesting time. I'll just start by sharing a picture of my family here. So my husband and I became empty nesters a year and a half ago, and life was great. And then COVID hit. So here's a picture. I've got my my youngest daughter over on the, I guess from you guys, it's the left-hand side, who's home from school at UW-Madison. So of course she came home in March. And then my son and his girlfriend moved in when COVID hit. They were living in a small apartment in Edina with a dog here not pictured, I'll mention that in a moment. And, you know, living and working in a small place with a big dog wasn't working. So they moved in and, you know, you just never know how long that's going to last. Thought maybe a couple weeks. It lasted 10. And then over in the jean jacket is our oldest daughter who lives out in the state of Washington. And she came with us for several weeks along with her dog. So her dog is the one pictured here. Very great to have these dogs. I feel like, you know, we've got grand dogs. We don't have our own dogs, but grand dogs are great. But dog hair is not. So now that they've all left, except for the college daughter, it was really just a great experience to have them all together. Family meals were like the highlight. Family game night was every night. It was really a lot of fun. So, you know, just really nice memories to think back that during this time that we were able to reconnect as having these, you know, our adult children living with us. It was a really neat time. But quite frankly, I'm happy it's just back to my husband and myself. And our daughter, Monica, again, still home from college. Her internship got canceled. She's now doing summer classes. So that's that.
Awesome. Well, let's talk more about COVID-19 and the city's response. You've had to do everything from change the way that council meetings happen to how staff deliver services. How big of a lift were those things?
Well, you know, I give a lot of credit to our city staff and our IT team because they had, not knowing any of this was coming, but had started to move most of our staff in the direction of having laptops versus desktops as the transition has occurred over the last couple of years. So when the stay-at-home order came, we were very able quickly to pivot and send a lot of people home to work from home. And then our IT staff really did great, just, you know, great work in making sure everyone had the connections and the things they needed. You know, became a little bit more challenging for like our public works department because they could not work from home. They're here doing work. So, you know, some things had to be done to create spaces for them to be able to, you know, at least when they come together starting in the morning to be able to, you know, have some separation. As they continue today, you know, they're driving in separate vehicles, et cetera. It did challenge, you know, now that summer is hit, we usually hire a lot of seasonal staff. And we've been a little bit restricted with that, although that seasonal staff mostly works in the public works area and in our parks division. Hard to keep people separated, not enough vehicles to put everyone, you know, by themselves. So we are living a little bit with a bit of a short staff this summer. So that's some changes. Regarding our meetings, again, IT staff has done a great job. A couple of times we had to do city council meetings where we were all virtual. And then when we were allowed to be together, you know, we would be 6 foot separated and have people both virtual and live. So we're going to continue that for some time. I think it's been a really nice advantage to the public. You know, we have these meetings that are held, you know, a couple times a month in our council chambers. And it's not always easy for the public to be able to participate in that way. We've got busy families, working families. It's not easy to get to a meeting, but having this combination of live and virtual is really making it nice for people to have a voice at our meetings. So we expect that to continue doing that going forward.
Awesome. And I would just say that, you know, the city's response has just been phenomenal. And if you wouldn't mind addressing some of the ways that the city has responded to help, specifically, you know, how have you helped businesses during this pandemic?
Absolutely. And working with our staff, you know, one of the very first things that happened was to provide information on our website. Once COVID hit and there was information available, you know, through all the various agencies that provide information, including, you know, state, federal, et cetera, having a one-stop shop on our website so that businesses and people could go to know what needed to be done. In addition, most recently, well, in the midst of all this, we didn't really relax our signage policy, but we kind of allowed additional signage to take place. You can see on the picture here is one example. We don't often allow these kind of banners and things placed around, but knowing that we needed to support our businesses, we've just really allowed a lot of this to occur. And again, this is just one example. Then when the outdoor eating ordinance was allowed, or that the governor made that provision, we did what we could to help businesses pivot to be able to offer that. So again, in this same picture is an example of somebody that had to bring in an outside tent. This normally wouldn't be allowed for any kind of a permanent structure, but during this time, we're allowing things like this, you know, just to make it easier for both the business owner and patrons to be able to go visit places like this. You can see then on the right side of the screen, we worked to the city staff in cooperation with the Woodbury Chamber and Lori, found this opportunity to create these posters that we make available to our business community. Really, the idea, I have to give credit where credit's due. The idea came from over at Hudson, Wisconsin, as they were a couple of weeks ahead of us in opening businesses. Lori had found something similar to this that they had posted. We just thought it was a great way to allow, you know, patrons to be able to quickly visually see and understand what was the expectation in that particular business. So these are made available. These have been printed. They're available for any business to pick up and post in the window or wherever they want to place them. In addition, one of the earliest things we did as a city council is knowing that a lot of the businesses that are restaurants that have liquor licenses were shut down for a period of time and not able to, you know, provide those services. We worked very quickly to ensure that we could provide them a rebate or a refund on the portion of their liquor license that they weren't able to use it. So in some cases that's, you know, was worth significant dollars with the full liquor license, but every little bit helped. So those refunds have been made and we continue to do that as we know that the businesses are closed. Many of them, of course, are now reopening. In addition, even a step that we did before COVID hit is that our city council wanted to make sure that we support our local businesses in any way we can. So we actually we're working through a procurement policy, changes to our procurement policy, and made a point of including verbiage that really recommends and suggests that any of our city staff, as they are looking to procure services, that they procure locally as much as they can. So I think that's been a big benefit to our community.
That's fantastic. So I mentioned the extra spending for COVID and declining revenues from businesses are already having an impact on the city budget, probably top of mind for budget discussions for next year. How do you see that conversation moving forward?
Well, and I've just added some pictures here too, just to see some things that are happening in our community. But we're really just starting to get a financial picture of what's things are gonna look like for 2021. We know we've got some difficult times ahead. City budgets aren't necessarily impacted immediately because of the way that our revenue comes in, mostly through you know, taxes. But as time goes on, that's going to change. In addition, we have lost a significant amount of revenue based on all the programming that we can't offer. For a while, our city golf course was closed. A lot of our rec programming hasn't occurred. Our Healthy Sports Center, which is usually really, really busy with indoor soccer and hockey programming and skating just haven't been able to be operational. So we know we're going to be challenged, but we have a great council and great staff. I know we'll work together to come up with solutions, and we'll work our way out of this. So we'll be pleased with that when that all comes through. But I will also add, many of you might be aware, because this has been in the news a lot lately, that as part of the CARES Act, their dollars have been distributed to states from the federal government for then the states to distribute to local government, local operating governments, both counties and cities. 2 of the counties got that automatically based on population size, but there's a large portion of money still sitting there waiting to be distributed to counties and cities. And we are eager for the legislature and the governor to work together to provide that for us. Our local units of government are hurting in many areas, again, due to lower revenue and increased expenses. So we're looking forward to having that resolved soon.
Yeah, that $841 million needs to move.
Exactly, yes. And we're hoping it happens soon. We're asking for it. I'll just point out some pictures here of things that have continued to occur during our, the government shutdown, or excuse me, during the COVID shutdown. We still have to be fixing roads, and we're doing a lot of that work. That actually, you can still see snow in that picture, but we've got some major road construction going on, both on some city streets and county streets. We work together with the county on a lot of these major roads. So lots of roads construction happening. I would, for a while when traffic was really diminished, I think the road crews were very happy with that because they could get a lot of work done. Hydrant flushing is still occurring. Our police are still out there keeping our city safe. And of course, there was snow plowing occurring back during our stay-at-home order.
Well, and Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, we're also talking a little bit too about the water treatment plant that we have and how that project was completed faster than normal. Do you want to talk about that?
I sure would. And I can give you even just a little bit of history on this. I think a lot of our Woodbury residents know and understand about our water, but maybe others in the broader community don't. So let me just give a little background on this. So we draw water from 19 wells in our community. And that water typically is a very good quality. It doesn't really need much in the way of treatment. Literally, we provide chlorine for disinfection and fluoride for, as we all know, for your teeth. And historically, that's all we've needed. But we do have some presence of a chemical called, the short term is PFAS. It stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This chemistry was made by 3M at some plants here in the East Metro, several decades ago, and production has stopped. But there is a very small presence of this in the wells in the area due to where things were stored in landfills. For a long time, the levels were very, very low. But in the recent year or so, the State Department of Health has adjusted the level which they think is safe. We had a couple wells hit that trigger over the last couple of years, and those wells have been taken out of service. However, knowing that we've got some increased water usage that always occurs in the summer months and the loss of a couple wells last year, we knew that we were going to need treatment for this water in order to prevent a big restriction on water use. So working closely with the state of Minnesota and 3M, with a consent decree dollars that were made available through work over, I think this was back in 2007, there is funding available for temporary water treatment. So working with the state and 3M, we were able to quickly, and with an engineering firm, design and build this water treatment facility. You can see the picture on the right is the picture of the building itself. It is considered to be temporary. Those were tip-up walls that were built around the tanks and the units. The picture on the left shows our large tanks. These are large. I think they're probably 30 feet tall or so. So very large tanks that hold activated carbon. That is a known treatment, very well-known treatment to remove PFAS from the water. So the wells several of the wells have been piped into this that have had the higher levels. And all that water is being treated through this filter system and then distributed to the rest of our community. I want to state, as always, we have always ensured that our water meets all federal and state requirements for water quality, and that continues to be the case. It really helped to get these filters online. We no longer have the fear of having to do an increased water restriction this summer. We've got more than enough for all the water needs in our community, including irrigation, which tends to increase in the summer months.
And Mayor, you've got a background in water, correct?
Yes, I sure do. I've spent my entire career, 30 plus years, in the area of water quality. I've worked for various companies and consulting firms, and my current company right now, focusing on water that's used in various ways and making sure that the water quality is good for whatever application that is, whether it's drinking water, wastewater, production water, water used in heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems. So water, you know, we all hold up a glass of water and think, oh, you know, it's just water, but there are things and components in there that might need some adjusting or removal or what have you in order to make them work for any application. So yeah, having this water opportunity or water challenge and opportunity here in Woodbury kind of was right up my alley in terms of understanding the technology and uses.
Sounds like your constituents are definitely have the right person for the job right now.
Yeah, serendipitous sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me change the subject a little bit. So one of the things that you two and I have gotten the opportunity to work on together is on the Gold Line BRT project. I know the city is doing the study around the transit stations. I would say, like, what's the best way for people to contribute comments to that project, and what kind of feedback are you getting?
Okay, that's a very good question. And just maybe a lot of the audience here knows about the Gold Line, but this is going to be a bus rapid transit project. We'll connect from St. Paul through Maplewood and down into Oakdale, and then end up with 3 stations here in Woodbury. And yes, the planning's been going on for quite some time, but we are at that point where we're looking for input to look at the station area planning. As I mentioned, we'll have 3 stations in Woodbury. One is in the Tamarack area near Tamarack, at the intersection of Tamarack Road and Bielenberg Drive. And then coming south from there, there'll be another station near the Woodbury Theater. And finally, a final station a little bit just west of that, kind of behind Coles and along 494. So we are looking for input on some of the station area planning and getting input from our community. Our staff has worked very hard to hold some of these Zoom-like meetings to get input from the community. Typically, they'll be out in the public with that, but of course, with COVID, we've been challenged with that. They just mentioned last week, doing the Zoom meetings has been a little underwhelming with getting people to get input, so that's been challenging. Otherwise, they're making direct contact, and then we also have on our website available a place to go in and provide some survey question and answer information there. We've also used our social media opportunities to get that survey question sent out, or that survey questions sent out to the public. I need a sip of water or coffee here real quick. Lots of talking.
So when we're talking about station area planning, is that like what amenities do you need, or like do you need a park and ride, or is it like what, you know, like what it looks like?
Yeah, it's to understand the needs and uses, you know, who is using these, and yeah, what amenities are we looking at? We're working with the whole Gold Line team on designing what these stations look like, you know, specifically for each area, with a lot of commonality between the various stops they're going to have. But we also want to customize it to make it look and feel like, you know, this is a special Woodbury place. So yeah, so it's amenities. The locations are pretty well set. We are hoping, and you can see from the graphic there on the left, that at the very end, the final station, that we will be able to implement the park and ride there. That will be the express bus service. We'd like to be able to connect the 2 there. So we're getting input on all those areas. So if anyone's listening and you haven't provided input yet, please do. We would love to hear from you.
Excellent. So, Mayor, we all know that in the last few months, we've all experienced a little hardship. We've all been pulled and stretched and relearning things, including how to live life on Zoom. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, can you tell us what are some of the good changes and what are you encouraged by?
Well, first of all, I'm really impressed with how our community has come together to respond to this global pandemic. It's been the challenge with the pandemic, with our water issue and with some of the civil unrest that's been occurring all at one time. So certainly tensions have been high and there's a lot of stress for people in our community. One of the good things, in Woodbury is that people have had the ability during, especially the shelter at home, to be able to at least get out into the community and walk and enjoy a lot of our natural resources and surroundings. We've got an extensive bike path system, walking trail system throughout the community with several lakes and lots of woods and all. So it's just been great for the community to get out and enjoy some of those nice amenities. In addition, we've continued working on improving things in our area in Woodbury. One of them is here, is shown on the upper left-hand side of the screen, is our new bike park, we call it. It's a bike park training, really for kind of some of the little people in our community. We've got a very popular and extensive trail system for mountain biking, which you can see from the middle picture. The little people want to get ready for things like that when they get a little older. So this bike park was just built over the last year or so. It just opened in the last couple of weeks. I actually included a picture of myself. I had my niece and nephew up from Chicago visiting. They brought their bikes, so we were out there on like day 2 or 3 practicing. Just a really, really neat area for kids to learn, and adults too, I should say. I had a lot of fun on it myself. Kind of cool. But yeah, I think our community's been very resilient, kind and respectful of one another for the most part in dealing with some of these stresses that we're all experiencing. I know I've watched families, challenge that, working from home, having children at home, whether they're young children that they need to be watching and parents are trying to work, or those like Lori, like you, that are trying to keep your kids on task with their education and their learning. But we're getting through it. And I think how nice it is now that it's summer months and we can all spend a little bit more time outdoors has made it much easier.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to turn the tables a little bit, and I'm going to put Lori on the spot because I know that in Woodbury, the city and the chamber work really closely together and have a great relationship, and that's something to be celebrated. So Lori, how's the chamber doing with all of this?
Yeah, so like all of us, it's a challenge, and it's a new way of in the chamber world. The number one reason people don't renew is that they say, well, I can never make it to anything. And as a chamber executive, you think, well, that's not the point. I mean, that's part of it, but we do so much more. So it's really been an opportunity for us as chamber executives that use that as like, there's so much more, to step back and go, now's our time to show everything we do. So the partnership with the cities, it's invaluable. And one of the things that I say quite tongue in cheek is, people know Woodbury as a place that has a lot of rules, but the citizens here are willing to follow the rules because we like the outcome. And I'm a resident as well as work here. And what I really applaud with the city is, so we have a lot of rules. We're known for having a lot of rules. We like the outcome, so we'll follow and adhere to the rules. And now we have this COVID, and we were able to shift gears, and the city loosened up on so many things because it's going to help people. One, it's going to help the public understand what's expected of them and what's open and make it easier for the public, but also an advantage to the business owners to be able to say, here, we're open, come see us. And you see a lot more signs up than you ever would any other time. But their response has been great. And both Mayor Ann Burt and Carl Batalden, who's with Economic Development, serve on our board of directors. And in our last board meeting, Carl made a mention. He said, Lori and I talk all the time, but Lori and I talk twice a week now, every week. And that's never been more true. Every morning we're on the phone together just saying, okay, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm hearing. Pulling ideas. Hudson had a great idea with those signs. I called up the director of Hudson and said, we got to do this. And Carl said, it's a no-brainer. We're getting this done. So being able to take my expertise from other chambers and what they're doing really well and having success with, bouncing it off folks at the city and them implementing. It's just been a phenomenal relationship.
That's awesome. So we've only got a couple minutes left. Mayor, I want to give you the sort of the last thing. You had mentioned the $841 million of federal COVID money that needs to come to the local governments. Is there anything else you're sort of keeping an eye on or hoping for in however many special sessions we have before the 2021 legislature convenes?
Yeah, we're watching a lot with the special session and hope that some resolution is made. I'm sure it's got to be frustrating to those legislators. It's frustrating to watch that nothing seems to get done. I can't imagine how hard it is to have been working for so many months and come out with nothing. So I wish them all a lot of luck and success as they try to work through these, last few issues that we're trying to get done for this year. I do want to go back because I failed to mention something about this. I want to, again, give credit to all the work that's been done regarding the survey and information. Again, looking for more public input. I just want to go back and let you all know that we did an in-touch communication, which is something we do through our website. We interacted with 370 people. Facebook, we had an interaction with 99. Next door, we had almost 2,100 impressions. We did a YouTube video talking about this, this gold line with 368 views as of today. And we did get a survey response from 367 people. So things are moving forward with that. And I didn't want to make it sound like we hadn't done a lot. But always looking for more input. But talking about, recent events, I just want to share this too, that, this has been a very, very challenging time with the recent civil unrest in the wake of the death of George Floyd at the hands of police officer in particular. And we've got a number of inquiries that have come in from the public asking about what are we doing here in Woodbury to address some of these concerns. And we came together pretty quickly as as leaders in the community saying, let's share how we police in Woodbury. And we did this by having our chief of police, who's also our director of public safety, Leveg, sit down with Pastor Tim, who is a local pastor here in Woodbury and a resident here in Woodbury, and just to have an honest, open discussion about policing in our community. So I just want to offer, this is available on our website. It's available through YouTube. You can search for it and look for it and view it. Just a nice, honest 30-minute discussion about how we do things here in Woodbury. I think it's so far been very positively received. I'll also add that in particular, I've had several conversations with various community members. We've got another kind of semi-private event happening on this Thursday night to talk more in depth. But we want to make sure that we hear from our community. Currently, Woodbury is about between 20 and 25% non-white. So we've got more diversity. It's been growing over the last several years, and we want to make sure that everyone feels important and included in our community. They all have a voice. So we're looking forward to having those ongoing discussions and to making sure that we continue to provide public safety and keeping our public very safe.
That's great. Well, thank you both so much. I want to be conscious of time. I think this has been a lovely 30-minute conversation, and I look forward to looking up on YouTube for your conversation with the police chief. That's good to see. Lori, again, good to see you. Hope to see you in person sometime soon.
Good to see you too, Shannon. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Evie, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Thank you. This session was recorded and will be available at a later date listed on our website. For more information on future SPACC and Woodbury Area Chamber events, please refer to our websites. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.